is this property damaged beyond repair? So this is a property up in Grimsby that is guided in an auction for 15 grand, and something terrible has happened to this property. By the looks of things, this has obviously had a fire and the whole property has been destroyed. I mean, it's gone up through the floor and into the upper floors. So it's basically a shell of a building that needs to be put back into habitable condition. Hopefully everybody got out safely, but you can see there's going to be black everywhere and a whole load of stuff is going to be damaged. So it's got to be completely ripped out and started again practically. So I'm going, would you take a project like this on board? Because, you know, what's this going to be worth once it's all done up and once it's finished? Now, it looks like a terrace property, but actually it was 2 one-bedroom flats. So that gives us a slight advantage because we're going to get a higher value than if we put this back into a 3-bed property that other ones on the street could be. So if we had it as a 3-bed property, I think the maximum is around 100k, having had a 93k property sold in 2023. And if it's flats, well, could you reach 150k? Maybe 70, 75. A flat, you're going to be topping out at 140, 150k. So that's a lot more scope to actually invest and refurbish. So as we can see here, the floor plans of a kitchen on each floor and therefore a 1-bedroom flat on each floor. So would you take this property on and bid for this in auction? Let's see what I think it'll go for in auction. We'll start off with this 140, 150k price, and then we take a margin on that. Let's take 30k off that. That leaves us 120k. I'm going to put 70k in for a refurb because there's a lot of stuff. There's 2 flats, so 35k a flat, all of that kind of stuff, put it back together, and therefore, what can I bid for it? Well, if I want 30k profit, I can pine a bid up to 50k. You've then got no stamp on this because you're bringing back a property into use, and also there's going to be some fees, etc., etc. Assuming you're buying cash, it's going to be around 45k that you're going to end up buying. So I think this might go for around 50k in auction. So now I would probably then refinance this and let this out longer term. And if I refinance 150k, what kind of rent would I get? Well, the fact that it's 2 flats means you're going to get a higher rent than if it was a 3-bed house. So therefore, you're going to get around about 10 grand a year, maybe 5 grand a year out of each flat, 10 grand a year, valued at 150k. You've got around about 6 to 7% yield out of this if you do all of this correctly, depending on the valuations, etc., etc. So I think this could be a good investment. Now, the one thing I don't know is this area. This area, obviously, you've got to do your due diligence to see if it's a good rentable area that you're happy to manage a property in. You're going to have all sorts of tenant types around this area. I've done the research on what you'd get if someone was on benefits, and that's where roughly these figures came from in terms of, so, you know, market rents might be a little bit higher, but I always go with the base rate of looking at the local housing allowance rates and seeing what you might get. So don't forget to give me a follow for more interesting property stories.